Today's topic is Graham versus Connor, the first prong analysis, the severity of the crime. I'm Steve Serbalik, and I'm a panel attorney with ASCOPS in Arizona. This week's video dives into the severity of the crime element of a Graham versus Connor analysis. If you missed it before watching this video, check out the video providing the overall summary of Graham versus Connor. Now that that's covered, today I'll talk about the impact of the severity of the crime element in a use of force case, a broad outline of some crimes that may not pass muster for substantial force, and some tips to consider when articulating a use of force based upon this prong of Graham versus Connor. As always, please keep in mind that this is a general topic overview, not legal advice, and at the heart of Graham versus Connor is a totality of the circumstances analysis, so if you have questions about a specific incident, ask for help. So first, let's talk about why the severity of the crime element matters in a use of force case. Generally speaking, officers are allowed to use substantial force in circumstances involving serious, violent crimes, and in contrast, officers are expected to show restraint if serious force is not necessary. In other words, not every call is the same, not every suspect is the same, and the seriousness of the crime alleged is an important factor to consider when deciding the appropriate amount of force. This brings us to the broad categories that help define when substantial force might be inappropriate. Generally speaking, calls related to nonviolent misdemeanors, or even calls involving no crime at all, do not warrant significant force, while courts are more understanding when force is used to address violent felonies. But the original call is not the only factor under consideration in evaluating an officer's force. So next, let's talk about some tips to consider when articulating the severity of the crime element of Graham versus Connor. In evaluating an officer's use of force, courts repeatedly recognize that the circumstances that an officer might face can change in an instant, which means even if the original call or circumstance is minor, or even involves no crime, if another crime occurs during the police contact, for example, if a previously nonviolent misdemeanor suspect attacks a police officer, the new circumstances might warrant more force than what would be deemed originally objectively reasonable based upon the original call. So if a situation escalates and you used force, make sure that you articulate the crime that occurred, likely aggravated assault, as this is relevant in the totality of the circumstances analysis. And as always, if you're involved in a significant use of force, ask for help. Lawyers like me and organizations like ASCOPS are here to help. Just give us a call. In the next few videos, I'll go into more detail about how the other factors are important to consider when articulating the reasons behind a use of force, and what the objective reasonableness standard means, particularly as it relates to body cameras and video evidence. If you found this video helpful, please hit the like button below and subscribe for more law enforcement lessons. In particular, check out next week's video on the second Graham factor, whether the suspect poses an immediate threat to the officer or others. I'm Steve Serbalik. Thanks for watching and stay safe out there.